Welcome back to High Stakes. Today, we will be discussing the following North Carolina NCAAF matches that is happening on Friday, September 22, 2023. We will be providing our team, total and prop picks for the day. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. If you want access to our premium picks, you can check out our Patreon page. You can find the link to our Patreon page in the description and comments section below. Boise State vs San Diego State. Take San Diego State to cover. San Diego State is 2-2 this season. The Aztecs defeated Ohio and Idaho State to start the year, but they have dropped 2 games in a row entering Friday's contest. San Diego State lost by 25 against UCLA, and in their last game, they were beaten 26-9 to number 16 Oregon State on Saturday, September 16th. The lone touchdown for San Diego State came in the fourth quarter, as running back Jalen Armstead rushed in for 6 yards for the score. The rushing attack went for just 70 yards on 34 carries in the game. Armstead led the way with 48 yards in the game. The junior tailback is averaging 5.1 yards per carry this season. His best game came in the opener against Ohio as he rushed for 79 yards on 8 carries. Quarterback Jalen Maiden passed for 256 yards for 24-32 passing. He did throw 1 interception in the game, too. The lack of consistency on third down has really hurt San Diego State, especially against Oregon State. They went 5 for 15 on third down. Maiden has thrown 4 interceptions this season with just 3 touchdowns tossed. His 256 yards against Oregon State were the most production that he created with the most passes completed. I find both of these teams very equal rolling into Friday's game. The Broncos and Aztecs have both been beaten fairly easily by a ranked opponent. They are both struggling on the offensive end while the defense is carrying them. I am going to take the Aztecs to cover this game because they were playing at home. This is going to be a close battle, and the rushing attack of Armstead will be a huge benefit as Boise State is giving up the 113th most yards this year. The Broncos will want to throw the ball, but the ability of San Diego State's defense to intercept the ball will be a huge benefit in the game. Green has thrown 4 interceptions in 3 games, and I expect San Diego State to be aggressive when forcing turnovers all game. Take the under on Friday. Boise State is 1-2 to start the season. The Broncos were dominated by number 10 Washington in their first game of the season. They followed it by losing on a walk-off field goal by UCF on the blue turf in their second game of the year. In their last game, Boise State secured their first win of the season against FCS North Dakota on Saturday, September 16th. The Broncos beat the Fighting Hawks 42-18. It was a balanced defensive attack that led to Boise State's win over North Dakota. The Broncos threw for 262 yards and rushed for 132 yards in the game. The Broncos were very efficient on third down as they went 10 for 14 in that department. Quarterback Talon Green led the way throwing 18 for 29 for 188 yards. He threw 1 touchdown and an interception in the game. Green's backup Maddox Madsen threw for 57 yards on 3 for 3 passing and a touchdown. Wide receiver Eric McAllister went for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game. Running back Jambers Duber rushed for 62 yards and 10 carries in the win. But it was Ashton Jeanty who ran in for 3 touchdowns on 16 carries as the red zone back dominated North Dakota. Jeanty is the main back for the Broncos as he has rushed in for 4 touchdowns in the early goings this year. I am going to take the under as this game because it seems as though each team's offenses are just stuck in neutral. The high attack rate that each team usually shows, especially in the pass game, just is not there in the early portion of the season. With a tough conference game on Friday, I don't see either team's offense just lighting up the scoreboard. This will be a close game that will come down to the final possession. Air Force vs San Jose State. Take the Spartans with the points. The Spartans lost their third game of the young season on Saturday by falling to the Toledo Rockets 2-1 Sioux, first in MAC West, 21-17 on the road last weekend. The Spartans had a 17-14 lead in the third quarter, but an errant throw by San Jose's starting quarterback Chevan Cordero was intercepted and returned for a touchdown to give the Rockets the lead, and they never looked back. Cordero finished with 228 yards on 24 of 42 passing with a touchdown through the air. Toledo wide receiver Penny Boone led all rushers with 123 yards on 13 carries, and the Toledo running game torched the San Jose State defense for 229 yards. The Spartans had difficulty moving the ball downfield consistently as the Toledo defense prevented them from putting together a drive for more than 40 yards all game. After 4 games in 2023, San Jose State currently ranks 90th in the nation in average points scored per game with 20.7. They also just cracked the top 100, 99th in average yards per game with 315. The Spartans' defense has given up an average of 39.7 points per game, good for only 117th out of 133 college teams. They also rank 100th in average yards allowed to an opponent per game with 434.3. Even though Air Force managed to achieve a 3-0 straight-up record for the season in their last game, they have struggled when it comes to covering the spread in 2023, with only one successful cover. Over the past 5 regular season games, they have lost against the spread 3 times, and in their last 3 away games, they failed to cover. In their most recent encounter during the 2020 season, the Spartans emerged victorious against the Falcons with a score of 17-6, and they were playing at home. Given these trends, the advantage appears to be with the home team in this matchup. Also take the under. Air Force remained undefeated this season by defeating the Utah State Aggies 1-2 Sioux, 12th in Mountain West, at home in a conference matchup last week. The Falcons exploded with 22 points in the first quarter, and their defense shut down the Aggies until Utah scored on a 2-yard touchdown pass by quarterback McKay Hillstead with under 2 minutes to play in the half. Hillstead would throw 2 more touchdowns as Utah State rallied in the second half, but Air Force held onto the lead throughout the game, as their offense proved to be too much for Utah to handle in the end. The Falcons rushed for 344 total yards and 5 TDs on the ground, led by RB Emmanuel Michel, who finished with 105 yards on 28 carries and 3 scores. Senior RB Owen Burke added 110 yards on 15 carries for Air Force. Quarterback Zach Larrier threw only 4 passes and completed 3 of them, but rushed 10 times for 58 yards and a score. The Air Force defense sacked Hillstead 5 times throughout the game and picked off a pass that would lead to a score for Air Force. The win was Air Force's first home victory versus Utah State since the 2019 season. Following their 3rd game of 2023, Air Force currently ranks 62nd in the nation in average points scored per game with 26. They also rank 78th in average yards per game with 343. The defense has excelled so far, ranking 10th in average points allowed per game. They have given up only 12 points on average in their 2023 contest so far. The defense also ranks 1st among all college teams in opponent yards per game, allowing only 191 on average. The Falcons are the only team in the country that allows fewer than 200 yards on average. Only 23 points in total were scored when these two squads last met during the 2020 season. Air Force currently ranks 1st in the nation in average opponent yards per game allowed with 191. They also rank in the top 10 in average points allowed per game. The Falcons have gone under the point total in 4 of their previous 5 regular season games overall, and 4 straight away from their home stadium. They have scored 13 points in each of their last 3 regular season games on the road, and the defense limited their opponent to 7 points or less in each of the 3 contests. Air Force went under the point total in 4 of 5 away games in 2022, and the trend seems to be continuing in 2023, as they went under, and only 16 points were scored in total in their away matchup with the Sam Houston State Bearcats on September 9th. Air Force's dominant defense and the trend strongly suggest this matchup will be a lower scoring affair.